Renovate a bedroom with me. Home projects almost never go smoothly, but opening up these walls was a domino effect of bad news after bad news. Things went from not great to begin with to bad to even worse. I left my dream home to move across the country and live next to my best friend. Together, we're taking on an 1840s dumpster fire. This is making Mulberry. So I'm back at Mulberry Manor renovating this bedroom. I was going to do flooring, paint, and trim to turn it into something magical. It became magical, but definitely not the way I thought. Before we get into it, this video is sponsored by Storage Sense. Get your first month free with code CARA. Right off the bat, the plaster needs replaced. It's literally falling off the walls in some areas. That's a bummer because it's pricey, but good because we get to get new electrical. And it will look fresher, so everything starts getting ripped out. DIYing this would have taken me months, so I actually hired some people to come in and help with the demo. And I thought that was going to be a great plan until I got this call. We learned two things. First of all, the wood underneath the window was completely rotted, so we had to get new windows and reframe the whole thing. And the contractors broke the heat pipe, which leaked all through the ceiling in the kitchen, literally everywhere. I feel like I handled it pretty well.
Yep, the gagging noises helps. Sort out. Oh God. Oh.
Cool. So between demo, drywall, new windows, and electric, we are already over $5,000 into this bedroom renovation, and that doesn't count floors or furniture or curtains or trim or any of the actual fun stuff. Went through 2 contractors to get the drywall finally finished, and then it was almost time for me to do my DIY magic. I just had to deal with this first. I needed to get all this project mess out of the way so that I can sand down and refinish these old floors. The real first step to any home reno project is getting everything out of the way so there's room for the magic to happen. Working in chaos isn't safe and a good way to ruin nice things like furniture. So my pro hack is to grab a storage unit so I can clear out the clutter and protect some of my investment pieces like furniture. So I packed everything up and put it into storage so that this room could be completely empty. Starting with the blank space just makes reno projects easier, especially when you're doing things like refinishing floors where there's going to be a ton of dust, or demo when there's going to be a ton of debris. So you don't want this mess anywhere near your nice stuff. I definitely recommend grabbing a storage unit from Storage Sense to give you some extra space and relieving clutter when you're working on your home renovation projects. Storage Sense makes storage easy with online rentals, different storage features to meet your needs, and month-to-month leasing. You can get 1 month free with code CARA. With everything in storage, I have space to sand down these floors, and I don't have to worry about dust getting in everything. So here's some before shots. You can see these floors are in really rough shape. I'm hoping we can save them.
I don't think it's physically possible for me to lift this up the stairs, but we're definitely gonna try anyways. So good luck to me. You can all watch and laugh.
This thing is seriously no joke. It's a drum floor sander and they weigh 110 pounds on average. So this was so hard. I'm gonna start out with 80 grit, which is very hopeful. Have I used one of these before? Yes. Did I have a good time? Not really. So hopefully this time it's lots of fun. We can make this floor look so brand new. Don't worry, this is the easiest part, so it only gets worse from here. Okay, the basics are that you turn it on, you drag it real slow across the floor, you do 1 pass, and then you go up in grit. So like 60, 80, 100, maybe 120. It's probably our ghost here to help. That's okay, I don't need help. There's a lot to discuss when it comes to this house being haunted. We don't have time for that today, so we'll do it in a later episode, but don't worry. I put a hammer in front of the door as a ghost lock. Okay, let's get to sanding these floors. So basically, you turn it on, and there's a lever that moves the sander down onto the floor, and then you just walk backwards and forwards, kind of like a vacuum. You want to go with the grain of the wood. I started out with 80 grit, which was definitely not low enough. I had to go get 35 grit. As you can see, after a few passes, there's still a lot on the floor. The other thing you need to know is there can't be any staples on the ground because it will make sparks when you go over it. So you should dig them out.
I'm using a chisel, which is not the right tool for the job. You should get a staple remover.
Okay, back to sanding. I did 2 passes with 30 and 60 grit, another pass with 80 grit, and now we're on 120.
This is the part of the project where I remember why people just buy vinyl and slap it on top, because that would have taken me like an hour. And here we are, still doing this, but I do have a coffee, so take a little break. You have to go over this a million times because I started with 30 grit because it was really uneven, and then you go to 60 and 80 and 100 and 120 or 180. And the reason for that is as you go up the ladder, each one erases the marks from the one before it, so you end up with a really smooth surface. Here's the dilemma though. So all of these floors are like this orangey color, which I actually like because it's going with blue trim and it looks good together. But then we have this situation. Should I stain this floor orange, or should we just be like, this room is gonna be different, like the floors in here will be different than everywhere else? After the drum sander, you'll need this guy, which is the edge sander. This gets right up against the edges so you can get the full floor, since the drum sander can't sand all the way to the wall. Same story here, starting at 35 grit and working my way up. I rented both of these from Home Depot, and all in, it was about 200 bucks. This is the secret, you cannot skip this step. Use a sanding sealer or a wood conditioner. Think of this like moisturizing before putting on makeup. It's just gonna make everything smoother and help your stain apply really, really evenly. I applied this with a roller and I actually did 2 coats. This wood was so dry, so if I had just stained it, it would have been really, really blotchy and really, really uneven. So I rolled this stuff on and then I let it fully dry. So I waited overnight, but it'd probably be drier a little sooner than that. Okay, now I'm adding this stain on as the first coat. It's weathered oak, it has a little bit of a gray, and I want to pull down the yellow orangey tones so I can control how much I'm putting on. So I put it on with a staining brush, just kind of scrubbing it like a mop. So I did a coat of that, let it dry, and then I mixed a custom color match to match these orangey wood floors. So here I am rubbing it in. You put the stain on, you let it sit a little bit, and then you kind of buff it out. It took a little trial and error in this mixture to get it to match perfectly, since these are old floors, but I got it, and it looks almost exact. I sealed with 2 coats of satin poly, and then it was time for some window trim. I'm adding a 1x4 on the bottom using 18 gauge brad nails. Next, I put a windowsill on top. I notch it out so it fits into the window. I'm using construction adhesive and nails. This is my favorite style of window trim. I kind of put it together to match the existing trim in the house, but also have a little bit of a modern twist. I usually do my sills pretty deep so there's room for plants, but this one was too deep, so I cut about 1 inch off. Next, I'm adding a 1x4 to each side using more construction adhesive and some 18 gauge brad nails. I cut these flush with the top of the window so that I can put a header board. This is a 1x6 that I cut flush with the edges of the 1x4. More glue and more nails to attach. You can leave it just like this, or I like to add a piece of crown molding to the top and some returns on the side. I think it just gives it a more elevated look. For crown, I like to use glue and then my pin nailer, since it adds nails with really tiny holes that are easy to fill and have a really clean look. I caulked and painted, and it looks like this. Time for the light fixture, and there's nothing that brings me more joy than finding the cutest light fixture and a really good price, but dance party because it's a win. Okay, yes, we need those so it doesn't come crashing down. So I needed a flush mount for this space since it's so short. I found this star fixture and it's so cute. It's on Amazon. I will link it. Here's how it's going. Number 1, I look like a giant in this room because the ceilings are very short. Let me show you. So it's like sloped, so that's taller, and then down here it gets shorter. This is how much room we have here, so that's fun. Window trim, which is looking amazing. The floors I stained to match these floors. I feel like I did a pretty good job of matching. This is primed. Did baseboards. I put paneling on this wall, which I still need to finish, and then baseboards.
Okay, so next up, I'm gonna be putting like a Limewash paint on the wall right there. It is gonna give it like a cloudy kind of plastery texture, which I think is gonna look really good with the old house and the floors, and then the like really clean trim that's like so sharp. And I get to use this big fun brush, which everyone keeps calling my Tom Sawyer brush, and I don't remember that reference, but I'm using 2 colors of this paint because it'll give it more like depth, and I will link both below, and you'll see more when it starts going on. It'll give it a lot of movement and it looks like plaster. It's like a Limewash paint. The key to this paint is stirring it all the time. Now I'm just gonna paint kind of like starburst shapes with this giant brush. You just want to do kind of like a crisscross motion. Now the paint does most of the work when it comes to the texture, but painting these little starbursts and then kind of connecting them is gonna create some brush strokes that just makes everything look like plaster with good variety. So painting little blotches, there's really not much to this technique. You just wanna get a lot of paint on your brush and then just kind of paint it in different directions on your wall. I used this big chunky brush to cut in, which was pretty challenging, so you don't have to do that. But overall, this process is really fun and really satisfying and super easy. Here's a close-up of the paint as it's drying. You can see the texture starting to come through, and here's what I did on the baseboards. I'm reusing my DIY headboard. I will link it down below, and now I'm assembling a bed frame from Amazon. It was very cheap, but very easy to put together, and it's pretty sturdy. I find assembling flat pack furniture really fun. It's like grown-up Legos, but I know it's not everyone's favorite. Let me show you what my workout is. It's a really good one. Here's another great tip while you watch me manhandle this mattress up the stairs. This bag is what I like to use when I put mattresses in storage. So it just zips on, it helps waterproof, and it can go into a storage unit and it won't get dirty. That was me trying to tell you this is a full body workout because it definitely is not easy. If we had to pick some overarching themes for this room renovation, it would be everything got water damaged and I had to drag everything up the stairs by myself, which was intense, but worth it.
Feels like we totally crushed it.
But wait, there's just a little bit more. Now I have to get it onto this frame. Luckily, there's no box spring needed. It's the last day and it's gonna be amazing. Okay, adding this nightstand, it's thrifted. Using these drywall anchors to attach some curtain rods. I'm just adding it to the side of the trim and attaching my bracket. I got adjustable ones that can hang out from the trim. How cute are these? They have like little glass finials and they're gold, like an antique gold, so I just think they're perfect. Sliding on some orange velvet curtains. This is not the final look, but you'll see. Okay, so then I decided this wall needed more texture. I added this big chair rail, and then I added these sconce lights on either side of the window. I had these wired when all the walls were open, so I love adding lighting wherever I can, and I wanted to add some sconce lights that could later be lights with a plug if this was going to be a desk. But for now, they're really, really pretty gold ones. And be sure the power's off before you start messing with your electrical, and only do it if you know what you're doing. Okay, that, adding the glass shades, look at those. Oh, and I painted the door blue so it matches the rest of the house. And then I painted this beige because I thought it needed some more warm tones. Then I floofed this plant that is totally fake, but definitely looks like real and pretty branchy. And I put it behind the nightstand for extra texture. And then this lamp that's super cute. Let's make the bed. Adding on these geometric throw pillows, and then some blue belted ones that I made, and then a leather lumbar pillow. Also a throw. Ready for the after? This is where it all started. And this is what I made.
feels good, a new beginning. We are free at last.
If you want to stay connected, you should follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And now, what do you want to watch next? Here's one that's really popular and one that I picked just for you. I'll see you in the next video. Since you're still here, you must really like listening to me talk, but the good news is I actually have a podcast. So you can tune in every week as I teach you to become your own designer and DIY your dream home. But seriously, pick a video.